was the clapping for?
To time it up with the...
Oh, then do it again. Sorry, I didn't know.
Hey everybody, welcome to our top 10 lists from our favorite films of 2018. Boy, I tell you what, these lists are a chore to get together, but we've made it through the year. We've put together these lists that, well, I'd say I quite enjoy my list this year.
I do too.
Some things that we haven't seen this year that just we haven't been able to, they're not out for whatever reason. But I think without further ado, if you're aware of how we do our list, we do 5 honorable mentions and we name them off at the same time, and then we go into our top 10. So
we don't know each other's lists. We never do. This year we actually decided to do a little something different, which is to guess each other's number one. And let me tell you how many times I've changed what I think his number one's going to be, because this guy is so unpredictable. I think your favorite of the year is going to be Hereditary. Is that it?
Hereditary?
Yeah, Hereditary.
Okay. Interesting.
And mine?
This is very hard because I definitely couldn't have predicted that last year would be Mother and the year before would be Captain Fantastic.
I know. I'm a curveball.
I'm going to say Paddington 2.
Interesting. Okay.
But why don't we just go ahead and do our honorable mentions?
Boom!
So, first one on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Ready
Outlaw
Player
King.
One.
Ready Player One? I forgot that came out this year.
Yeah, I almost put that in my top 10 because that was the most fun I had in the theater all year.
It's a good memory because I just remember Seth not tipping the server.
And I remember him eating all of Dave's pizza.
1, 2, 3.
Wait.
1, 2, 3.
Blind Spotting.
22 July. 1, 2, 3.
Annihilation.
Tully. What? Annihilation isn't on your list? That's surprising.
My list is weird.
Ooh. 1, 2, 3.
Outlaw
Paddington
King.
2.
Oh no!
1, 2, 3. A
First
Star
Man.
is Born. Oh!
Okay, so my number 10, this is a film that started out as a short film that was like a 12-minute long take about a cop at his mom's funeral. This is like about as indie as you could get. Like I said, this cop whose mother dies, he's dealing with that along with a divorce. He's dealing with a lot of things.
Who's in it?
The guy's name is Jim Cummings. He acts in it, he wrote it, he directed it.
Shut up.
This guy is super talented. He does these one-take short films all the time.
Wow.
But this is one that eventually became a full-length film, which it's just really good. Like it's hard to explain exactly what I like about it. Just the raw emotion involved with it, and sometimes the guy overacts his crying and everything, but like just throughout the whole film, it's just such a stunning performance and a stunning story. And the end is just, there's a beautiful cover of a song, and just the emotional punch that comes with it is just, it's great.
My number 10, I think, might surprise you. Here's the reason why. It's my top 10 mainly because I really thought that what Netflix did with a Make It Your Own was just very intriguing. And
Interactive.
yeah, interactive. I just like the concept of the whole thing. Now, whether it's like the best movie out there, that's, you know, debatable. But I think what really made it into my top 10 was the fact that you created his story, but it could be as long as 5.5 hours or as short as 30 minutes.
You just like the interactivity of it.
I do, and I think that's why it made my top 10.
My number 9, this film surprised me. I still can't believe this franchise is going on as long as it has and putting out good films. Boy, I tell you what, some of these I've seen twice, so they're kind of cemented in their spot. But Creed 2, I'm not sure how much I love it or how much I just was infatuated by it. But it just continues the Rocky franchise story, now becoming the Creed franchise, which is, you know, great. They have a great character in there.
Beautiful way that they transition.
This film, if you're a fan of the franchise, you have to see this because there are cameos, there are callbacks. The ending is so emotionally, it packs a punch. I'm not going to say which one, but it calls back to the old ones. And it's definitely kind of like a fan service film. But it has a lot more to it, a lot more heart. Ryan Coogler, who obviously went on to do Black Panther, he's doing different things now, didn't come back. It was a guy named Stephen Cable Jr., I think that's his name. But he did such an impressive job with this and turned it from something that could have been just, you know, a flat sequel into something with a little more.
My number 9, I think, again, might surprise you. Ethan Hawke, Amanda, beautiful, gorgeous woman. At first, I wasn't sure how much I would like this, like, starting it, because it just kind of starts right away with, like, everything. But then as it kind of went on, I was blown away by not only Ethan Hawke, but by Amanda, and by also the camera work in it and the raw emotion that Ethan and Amanda share together. And so I think it's another one that, like Nick, might move up in my list because I want to watch it again and try to understand the ending a little bit better. But overall, I thought it was a really good film, and that's why I made my top 10.
My number 8, I knew I was going to like this film. I didn't know how much I would like it. So, I mean, I love Ewan. Ewan McGregor is great,
so
always. But growing up with Winnie the Pooh, I think this hit an emotional level that it kind of represents us, the ones that grew up with Winnie the Pooh, watching it. And then we kind of grow up, forget about having fun, our childhood, about just kind of letting go sometimes. You get caught up in work, you get caught up in relationships and all this other stuff that just happens when life happens. And I think it just kind of reminds you to have fun, to not always take things too serious. And I mean, Winnie the Pooh is just
cute.
He's just the best to see those characters on screen as live action characters.
And they weren't cartoon. Like, that's the thing, is they looked like they were stuffed animals.
I'm very happy that it got nominated for Best Special Effects because it looks great.
Yeah, it's... Oh, I don't even think that made it to my list, which maybe it will be. My number 8 is... First and foremost, this movie is weird, as all types of Get Out, and it has so many different directions to it that it was one of the ones that I had to go home and, like, dive into everything that was about this movie and, like, what exactly was going on and how did we get from point A to point B. That was drastically weird, and it was definitely interesting, and it's probably one of the ones that if I watch again, it might go up again, but at this point in time, it caught my attention enough, and I liked it enough that that's kind of why it's at 8.
My number 7.
Another one I didn't get to watch.
I have been such a fan of Bo Burnham ever since his YouTube days. You know, I used to buy his albums, listen to his music, his comedy specials. The dude is... What?
Wait a second. Did he direct it?
He wrote it and directed it.
No way.
Yeah.
Now I have to watch it even more.
Obviously a very talented guy, but just the way that he conveys puberty, anxiety, growing up, the way he makes it seem like everything is just this big moment in the moment, and make you realize that it's not that big. Everything is going to disappear when you get older, and just the way that, like I said, it conveys the anxiety of this girl who, Elsie Fisher, is fantastic in this film. It's very relatable, but just the way that it was just so well crafted and well made, and the synthy, erratic score just kind of conveyed that confusion and, I guess, excitement a little more. And I just, Bo Burnham.
So my number 7, Natalie Portman, amazing. The score, amazing. The story, amazing. And it hit very close to the book. And I, if you don't know, am an avid book reader. And I like it when movies get close to the book. And this one was pretty close for me, at least. You know, other people might have their own opinions.
You read the book after, too.
And I did. I read the book after. We like literally watched the movie, and then we went to Barnes & Noble, and I bought it that same day. And I read it and fell in love with it. And then I rewatched the movie, and I fell in love with it even more. And I like Natalie Portman as that character. And it's just a very interesting movie, and again, the score was unbelievable.
Yeah, I love that climax score. Is just something else.
I think that's how it went.
I will say, and I've said this before, just on different things, maybe the podcast or something, but everybody wants inclusion, and this film had 5 females as the lead.
Yes.
1 was black, 1 was lesbian. All smart, intelligent characters.
Yes.
And nobody saw it.
which is mind-boggling because I wouldn't say like woman power, but it really is.
It's women power in that subtle way that they're not
like
telling you
throwing it in your face.
We're women, we're strong.
They are just showing that women aren't catty bitches. Like we can work together, and it just does a really good way of showing that as well.
Yeah, I just don't want to hear this whole thing about we need more inclusion because, of course, you do, but it's there. My number 6, this one's very interesting. This is a documentary. It's a World War I documentary.
Oh, up your alley.
There's been a couple World War I films come out this year just because it was the 100th anniversary of the end of the war. But what Peter Jackson did with this was so astounding. He took this 100-year-old footage and transformed it, colored it, slowed it to make it seem like it was done yesterday.
Wow.
It's unbelievable. And the way the story is conveyed is very simple. It starts out black and white, the regular footage. It's got voiceovers from soldiers kind of telling their story. And then at one point, all of a sudden, the screen starts to enlarge and the footage starts to colorize and slow down. It's I was in shock. It's just absolutely beautiful and gorgeous. It was like watching The Wizard of Oz for the first time, seeing color on this footage that is damaged and I don't know. Peter Jackson did something innovative here, and I think that's commendable for him. He's always trying to push the limit, and he did with this. He did something that was astounding, and I hope more people see this because it was something else.
My number 6. This movie had me like legitimately laughing out loud. It was so just quirky, so funny.
You want to get punched?
I loved every actor and actress in this movie. It is one that I think I could honestly rewatch over and over again and probably find something different and something new. And I think it just does a really good job in telling a story that's, I mean, honestly, probably not even close to being anywhere true of any sense.
It's somewhat, but they take a lot of liberties.
But it's just, and I really think it's unique. Like, I think it's a very unique film, and I think more people need to watch this film. Because, again, it goes back to, it's got strong female characters. It's got strong female, women that are... While this one does show a little bit of the cattiness, again, you have to think of the time frame. While it is in the 1700s and there are that cattiness, it still shows women in power. It's an amazing movie, and I just think more people need to watch that one. Top 5.
My number 5. This was the directorial debut of Paul Dano. It's got Jake Gyllenhaal, that one girl. God, what's her name? Carey Mulligan, that one girl married to Marcus Mumford. This is one of those films that I really can't explain why I like it. It's just a really well done coming of age movie. It's kind of dark. It's depressing. Basically, Jake Gyllenhaal gets fired from his job, and he's having like a midlife crisis, so he goes off to fight these wildfires that are going on, and he leaves Carey Mulligan and her son, and she is trying to figure out what to do. She doesn't know if he's coming back. She's very confused. She's trying to take care of her kid, but also trying to take care of herself, and that allows her to put on this fantastic performance of just like a confused, sad woman who doesn't know what to do. And even the son, Ed Oxenbould, he's very good, and it's just a fantastic debut by Paul Dano, and I commend him and Zoe Kazan, because she helped write it with him. I commend them for making a really good debut.
I have never been so intrigued by a film. This movie...
Never.
Seriously, this movie captured from beginning to end, and the way that they did the filming, the score was really interesting.
The camera work was very well
done.
Oh
my gosh, I was sitting and I remember because Nick wasn't home, and I was watching it, and like when something would happen, I'd be like, oh my god, and like that's how interested I was in this film, and I think they did a really good job with bringing like modern time into futuristic and like mashing it and showing what the pros and cons of it would be, because they're obviously are always going to be pros and cons when it comes to new technology. And I think that this movie really hits home with what it could actually be like. So that's why it went up to my number 5, because it made me really think about, oh my gosh, I literally stare at my phone all the time, and this could end up being me.
My number 4. This is a very interesting film. It's a thought-provoking film. Ethan Hawke and Amanda Seyfried, of course, as we mentioned. I don't know if it's getting too much into spoiler territory, but basically, Amanda Seyfried is afraid of her husband because he's starting to become this environmental radical. He's thinking about some terroristic things to kind of stop these companies and all this pollution going on. So she calls on Ethan Hawke to come in and talk to him. He's a pastor, and what unfolds is dark and weird and strange and thought-provoking. And
the ending is just wild.
Another one, I really can't explain why I like it, but it's really well written. It's Paul Schrader, who did Taxi Driver. He also directed Mishima, Life in 4 Chapters, which is just this really out there, visually stunning film. He kind of brings in that visual element to this film. There's some really strange moments, and the ending is very powerful and thought-provoking, and kind of wish it would have gone a different direction. If you've seen it, I think you know what I'm talking about, but what ended up happening may have been better in the end.
My number 4. What?
I had that tentatively in my list for a while until I realized that it's good, but it's...
Oh, I loved it. First of all, John Krasinski, right? Is that how you
Krasinski
is a fantastic writer and a fantastic director, because then he directed and wrote it. So this came from his mind, and then he was in it as well, and he was phenomenal. He brought tears to my eyes, and the emotion of this, like, to be so quiet and still get that much emotion.
The sound design was astounding.
Oh my gosh, it was so good. And I really liked the take on the sign language piece of it. And on top of it, you know, Emily Blunt is amazing. And of course, naturally, John and Emily are married, so their chemistry is amazing. But the chemistry they have, not only with each other, but with the kids, is fantastic. And I truly liked this movie. And I really think it was worth the watch for sure. We watched it in the theater, and being in the theater when we watched it was the most intense. You could hear a pin drop. It was so intense, and it was...
I was waiting for people to make noise. I thought that would be the most obnoxious theater experience ever.
It was...
Number 3 on my list was another debut. Love this movie. It takes you back. I mean, this is one of the best representations of a decade that I've ever seen, really. I mean, frankly. Jonah Hill just crafts this really personal story, and it just takes you back to a simpler time. Even though these kids are going through serious issues, it takes you back to a much simpler time. I had a little skating period. Very minor. It was not a...
It was terrible.
It was not a good... It was just... I liked it. I couldn't do it. The beginning little montage of the kid going into Lucas Hedges' room and just going through it and seeing all the CDs and the cassettes.
See, I think that's the difference between me and you, and I will, spoiler alert, it's not on my list, mainly because I didn't connect the same way as I think you did, and I think it's because, like, as a girl, like, yeah, there are skaters out there that are women and, like, amazing skaters, but for me, I was all about my Barbies.
Yeah, it's very interesting hearing him talk about it and how much, like, he's been waiting to direct a film forever.
Wow.
He talks about how he went on this amazing 20-year journey of acting, and now he's finally getting to do what he really wanted to do.
Ah, that's amazing.
And this is just a film that is short. I can see myself watching it just countless times throughout the years.
Do you think this is another Boyhood to you?
No.
My number 3, it hit a little close to home for myself. And so when I watched this movie in the theaters, it really shook me.
That's what I thought.
First of all, the actress, what's her name?
Claire Foy.
Claire Foy. Absolutely love her. And and I really liked how she portrayed this person.
It's rough.
It was a very intense movie, and
if you've ever been through like a stalking scenario,
if you've ever had any sort of mental illness, any sort of anxiety or anything like that, this movie really, like, it made me feel a little bit claustrophobic, but like in a oddly in a good way. And it just, I don't know, it shaped this whole thing for me into a different perspective for myself, and it helped me realize that I am not crazy with my mental illness. Like, it's okay to have what I'm going through as long as you have support. And that's why I think this movie, like, touched a little bit deeper, mainly because I do suffer from things.
I will commend it because I didn't know where it was going to go.
Oh, no,
I thought it was pretty unpredictable, and a great creepy performance by Joshua Leonard, who plays, well, Josh from Blair Witch Project. As I'm sure a lot of you know, it was shot in an iPhone, all these other gimmicks that happen with it, but it just goes
very creative in its own.
Goes to show anybody can make anything. You can go out and make a film right now. If you have a good idea, just go do it.
Technology is improving. If you want to do it, go do it.
My 1 and 2 are kind of interchangeable.
Mine are too.
And I love both these films, but they are polar opposites.
Mm-hmm.
So my number 2, as of right now, is...
Oh my God.
Okay, I know that, and technically this film came out in January for America, so that's why I'm including it. Oh my God.
It's so sweet.
What to say? I love Paddington. The second one is just that much better.
He is Winnie the Pooh.
Pretty much.
Oh my gosh, he's Winnie the Pooh.
The bear genre this year has been very good.
Phenomenal.
I will say they're not really just kids films. These have acclaimed British casts. I mean, there are so many great. It's like watching Harry Potter sequel because
there's
you
so
got Brendan
many.
Gleeson, you got Julie Walters, you got Michael Gambon, you got Imelda Staunton who plays Umbridge. Mm-hmm. It's just all the best British actors there are coming together to make this really lovable, likable, truly fun, and just loving film about a character that he's naive, but he just wants to help. He just loves everything.
Sweet.
It's just...
Oh, Hugh Grant? He was amazing.
This is Hugh Grant's best performance ever.
Amazing.
I just remember seeing the posters for this and not even giving it a second thought. And watching them now, they're just well-crafted films. The camera work is stunning. The second one especially is very much like a Wes Anderson film with the centered camera views.
Mm-hmm. And the CGI in this too. I mean, we talked about the CGI for Winnie the Pooh. This is just as good because it's literally bringing bears to life.
The heart and the charm to these films it is immeasurable. It's a great escape from all the negative, depressing drama that I watch, and just it just shows you that there's good in this world, even if it's from a bear.
Yeah.
I just want more people to see it and not really take it at face value thinking it's a kid's movie.
My 1 and 2 is the same, where it can be interchangeable. So, and honestly, right seconds before we started filming, I actually looked at my list again and I was like, do I want to keep this? Yeah, I'll keep it. So, my number 2 of the year is... Here's my reasoning why. First of all, huge Queen fan. And then to see this man's life and how he grew was incredible. And how much, like, the songs, the way that they did the songs and how they actually kind of explained what they were doing for it. Like, I had no idea that technically Bohemian Rhapsody, that CD that it's on, is an opera CD with the twang of rock. And then,
At the Opera.
Yeah, and I had no idea. I just thought that's what the title was. And then Another One Bites the Dust. Zero idea that was part of a jazz theme that they had. It was so intriguing to find out the details that they had in their CDs and also in his life. Very awestruck when I was watching his life and what he had to go through to overcome all of it. And the fact that, like, nobody knew he had AIDS except for his close family members was very interesting. I also really loved the reconstruction of a lot of the scenes. I won't go into too many details.
Live Aid, that performance and the way they recreated that was
I wasn't
amazing.
going to say that. That's because
well, they know it's in it. It's amazing.
It was, we were literally watching it. Nick had the Live Aid on his phone, and we had Bohemian Rhapsody on, and we were watching it at the same time. And it was uncanny how amazing they got it shot by shot. That's why I feel like this could be my number one, but at the same time, my number one is really good.
My number one. Okay, let me just say that this is in no way like it's not a happy film, but it's one that I feel like I can rewatch. I've seen it 3 times already, and each time I'm just so awestruck by the filmmaking, the messages, the acting. It's a fucking crime that Toni Collette was not nominated.
Yeah.
Even Gabriel Byrne, he's fantastic, and Millie Shapiro, which I'm going to go into spoilers real quick because it's kind of a major thing that I want to talk about. So if you haven't seen it, click off real quick, come back, whatever, or just keep listening. They marketed this film as if the girl was going to be the main focus of the film. So when she dies in the middle of the film, it's so effective. I just remember being in the theater when it happened and my jaw just being on the floor. I remember like, just not breathing.
Right, it's almost like, where is this going to go now?
It's such a heart-wrenching and emotionally intense movie.
Honestly, his acting in this movie, you forget that he was a Nickelodeon
Naked Brothers band.
Yeah, like you forget that he was in this goofy band with his other brothers. If they are they brothers? Yeah. Yeah, like you forget that he was in this goofy band way back when, and his emotion is so, like, again, raw.
It was, I just remember watching, like, Nat Wolff and being like, wow, this guy's really good for, like, a Naked Brothers band guy, and he's off doing his young adult crap now, and I'm just like, dude, Alex Wolff, he's the guy. He's gonna be something. It's just such a dark story, and you know, it's something that everybody goes through. Everybody goes through loss, but just the way it happens, it very much the ending is very much similar to The Witch.
Oh yeah,
and that could be why I love it. It makes you question a lot of things, and it's just a horror movie that doesn't rely on the regular tropes. No jump scares, long creepy takes, thrilling music.
Yes.
The ending music is great, and you know, Hal Payman. That's all I gotta say about that. I love this movie.
Okay, so since you got my number one wrong, I feel like my number one might shock you.
Yeah, I can't think of what it is.
Do you want to try to do another guess?
No, just
okay.
Tell me.
Okay.
Here's why.
Okay.
First of all, I am not the biggest fan of Dakota Johnson. Mainly because all the movies I've seen her in have not been...
Yeah, well, don't see Suspiria.
Like they have not been that great. However, in this movie, wow.
Yeah.
She really surprised me.
Is that the only reason you like it? Is because Dakota Johnson was good?
No. I was very surprised by her. I'm a huge Chris Hemsworth fan. Daddy.
I think any girl with a pulse is.
God, I wanted to hate him so bad.
I think it's some of his best acting, too.
I truly think so, because it was like Charles Manson meets fucking Chris Hemsworth. I mean, I can't even explain it in any other way. Like, it's very interesting, and I really liked it, and the story, it's a deeper meaning story, and I had to really look into it to kind of understand, and once I looked into it, I was like, oh my gosh, it makes so much sense, and it was just so intriguing of how they connected all of the characters. And
it was very much like a Tarantino film.
Yeah,
almost like Hateful Eight with Pulp Fiction, just because it's in one location, but it's also combining all these different characters,
like
in
so many different
in a
stories.
non-linear way,
right? And it really, you get to hate each character individually, and then you get to love each character individually, and then as a whole, when it's the whole group together, it's just very action-packed, interesting, and I was very surprised that I would like it as much as I did. It was one of the movies that I was like, I need to watch it.
Yeah. I was hesitant, and then I saw it. I really liked it.
I would watch that day in and day out, not just because there's like Chris Hemsworth abs, but because it really was really good. I really liked it.
Yeah, Bill Pullman's son's in this, and he's really
good. Oh
my
gosh, he blew me away.
I knew he looked really familiar, and then I looked him up. I was like, oh, Bill Pullman's son. Oh my god. Okay, I see it now.
Like, and then his acting just blew me away. I
They're
really
all pretty complex.
very complex, and they all have very different stories behind it. And even the hotel itself that they're at has a very interesting story. Like, the hotel is a character in and of itself.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting of what they've done with it.
A whole year of film comprised into one however long video this is. I'll say that this was a tougher year just because I had so many things that I liked, but there weren't very many that I loved. So it was hard to just weed out the ones that it took a lot to really formulate what my list was going to be. But yeah, I mean, very solid year of film. I think there was just like something that everybody can love. This year just showed that you really have to go out and find it, because you can't trust the Oscars to give you those films that you need to see and you'd like to see.
I'm usually the one that has like the Disney movies and the Pixar movies and the Marvel movies, and I didn't put any of those on my list, but it's not because they were bad, it's just because obviously there were other movies that were really good.
Let us know what you think of our list down below.
What's your number one of the year?
Yeah. Or your whole list. Let us know your top 10, your favorite, whatever. I just like to see what other people like throughout the year.
Any movies we missed?
Yeah, what do you still suggest we see? Because obviously 2019 is probably going to start out pretty slow like every year. So give us some others you think we should check out. I know there's a lot that still need to see. Some foreign stuff, of course. But you can't fit everything you want into a year.